Welcome everybody to Catfish Weekly, along with Chuck Davis, and I'm Lyle Stokes. Tonight's show is sponsored by Whiskerware Apparel. We have a couple of guests on the show with us tonight. We'll get to that in just a minute, and we're going to talk about the Catfish Conference, and then we're going to talk with Morgan Blake about catching some flatheads out in California. That'll be really cool. Chuck, how's it going in Alabama today?
Oh, it's going great. You know, same old, working on the boat more than fishing. You know, pouring rain in when you get time to go fishing. Very nice while you're working, just the regular old stuff.
I understand. It warmed down your way?
Yeah, but the rain come with it, so that's the kind of warm I don't like.
Yeah, I understand. Steve, how's it going tonight, buddy?
I'm awesome. How about you guys?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Getting ready for this Versailles, Kentucky trip we got coming up. Cindy's got the truck cleaned up and washed inside and out, and we got all our stuff laying up here ready to put in it and get ready to head your direction.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty big event, bigger than I ever imagined. Got folks coming from 24 states. That's nearly half America will be here in Versailles, Kentucky.
Man, you can't keep it like that.
No, sure can't. We've got a lot of good vendors coming, you know, to participate. So guys visiting, you know, should get a real good dose of catfishing this weekend.
Well, some of these people that's going to be traveling these distances are going to get a chance to watch some seminars from some of the greatest catfishermen in the nation. That in itself, and the fact that the only thing they're out is the trip down there is just a great deal.
Exactly. Yeah, we've got guys going to tell you how to catch catfish. We've got guys going to tell you how to keep your catfish alive in live well. So we got some conservation going on. So it's a little bit of everything pertaining to the catfishing industry.
I guess just virtually everybody that has to do with the sport, one way or the other, is going to be in attendance down there and have a booth or something going on. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. You know what's really excited me, though? I put a little thing out today on my personal Facebook page, you know, saying who all's coming, where you from. And some fella, I can't remember his name, but he said he's coming from Texas and he's stopping by to get Big Cat Patterson, which that to me is very cool. I don't know if you're familiar with Big Cat Patterson out of Mississippi.
I am.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That surprised the heck out of me, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I talked to James on the phone just every once in a while. I tried to get him to come on here, but he's like so many of us that he's not doing the computer thing much, and he don't want to do that. If we do it by phone, we can, but people want to put faces to the people, and we may try to get James on here. He's quite a guy himself. He's just very knowledgeable, and to have him there, he's liable to have a crowd around him quite a bit of the time if they figure out who he is.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, I've been in the game about 12 years, and he was here way before me. So he's a veteran. He's probably forgot more than I know. So
he catches a lot of good fish.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe we can corral him up and get him inside of the Catfish Weekly booth.
Well, I hope so. That'd be really good. Now I know, Steve, I talked to some boys that's flying in from Arizona that'll be up there. They're going to show up and visit with us a little bit. I'm really excited about that. I mean, when guys will jump on an airplane and fly from Arizona to wherever they land at in your area and then drive over to that conference, that's quite a feet in itself.
Oh, yeah. And I think we've got them scheduled to, if same guys I'm thinking about, we've got them scheduled. Bobby Miller, I think it is.
That doesn't.
Arizona, they got something to do with the conservation out Arizona. Right. They've got a tagging program. They're going to come share their information with us. Yep. So, and
I'm really
my buddy Chris Flores from Muddy River Catfish, and he's got a huge YouTube following on YouTube. He's flying in from New Mexico.
Wow.
So,
that's outstanding. Yeah, it's going to be a huge event, and I know everybody is really excited about about getting there, and it's the right time of the year to get everybody corralled up, because if they're like me, they've been sitting around about as long as they can stand it without getting a fix of some kind.
Right. Well, the weather as of today, but you know, weathermen can't never tell the truth. But as of today, it's supposed to be sunny and 52 degrees.
That'll be pretty good. I actually I question the fact of whether they know what they're doing or if they care if they know what they're doing, because they're the only people I know of that gets paid a pretty good salary, could be wrong every day, and people still watch them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome time. Like I say, it's our first one. Please, I hope everybody understands that we're trying to do everything we can as far as to make everybody comfortable. So, you know, next year will even be better. We're going to learn something this year and just do better next year. Well, I'm sure something's going to malfunction.
Well, you know, and that's part of doing these deals, and people have to understand that if something goes wrong, it'll be corrected. It won't happen the next time, and everything will go along, and it's going to be fun regardless. If how much of a major deal can go wrong with a bunch of guys sitting around talking about catfish? Hell, they might even be lying to one another. Nobody's going to know the difference.
Well, we've got, you know, we've issued over 800 tickets, and then I know there's another at least 500 that's probably just going to walk through. So there is going to be a large number of people in a small building. You know, that we had to rent a tent, you know, a 1,500 square foot tent just to do the seminars for. So it'll be heated also.
I'm extremely excited about this. I think that all the hard work that you guys have put into this will pay off in large dividends, and if this is an annual event, like I understand it's going to be, next year will be better, the year after that will be better, and from now on it'll just keep getting bigger and better, and more participation and more people showing up. I mean, it just looks like a great event.
Well, that's what we're looking for, guys, and you know, we'd like to thank everybody that's coming out to participate as a vendor or just come out and you know, hang around us for the day. We appreciate just everybody.
I hope, Steve, that you'll find time to stop by. We're going to come down Friday. Well, Cindy and I are going to leave pretty early Friday, and we'll be down there. We'll set up our stuff and try to get Catfish Weekly show going, and we're planning on a live broadcast out of there, barring something crazy going on, and that way we'll have time to get it addressed if there is something that happens. But you know, if you find time, I know you're going to be really busy, but we'd love to have you come by and sit down and visit with it for a few minutes and talk about how the event's going and things like that. I think it'd really be good, and then anybody and everybody that wants to sit down and talk catfishing with us for a few minutes, we're going to try to do our spots at a time, and then we'll take a break and do another one.
Well, that sounds awesome, but I don't think you're going to run out of people to talk to. That's for sure.
Well, actually, we've kind of put that a little bit into perspective. We've talked Heath Malone and some of the boys into coming in and helping us, because Chuck and I will all get dry throat and have to go out and get some iced tea or something to help us. And Heath and them have agreed to come on with Indiana Hunter and help us do interviews and things, and they do some wonderful videos and stuff. So we're glad to have them in there, and I just am really excited about this event. I think it's going to be a great time. What do you got for Steve tonight, Chuck?
Well, Steve, it's a week before the conference. Well, really just 4 days. Now you're sitting back and you're looking at it. You know, and I asked you, was this just overwhelming for you? Did you have, on proportion size, did you think it would be about half this size?
You know, honestly, when we first went into this, I was thinking 250 people. But the more I've advertised it, it seems like everybody was just ready for this. They're just wanting something to take place like this. And it's just grown. I mean, but yeah, 250 was kind of my cap. I never imagined 1,000 or better.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to occupy everyone and all, and it's going to be such a great deal because there's so much product out there that I've been wanting to get my hands on. It's all over the internet, you know, and most of these, you know, Bass Pro academies don't carry it, and you know, just being able to go around and you know, get into, you know, hold some of this stuff, check the rods out, all the
Right.
different rod holders, and there's just so much stuff out there that I haven't been able to see in person, and that's just what's so exciting.
Well, there's a lot of the vendors that have come out. I've had a lot of people ask me if vendors are have stuff for sale. I don't know about Lyle. I don't know about Lyle's going to bring anything for sale. Me personally, with Monster Rod Holders, I'm not going to have time to sell anything. I am going to have a display so you can put your hands on it, you can feel it. But most of the other guys are going to sell some stuff, I do believe. I think B&M probably going to have something for sale. Tangling Catfish will probably have something. So, but not everybody will. But at least you, like you say, put your hands on it.
Yeah, I mean it's so hard for someone to make a purchase online, and you can just ask people's opinions on rods and certain stuff like that. Rods are the biggest, and you end up paying ungodly amount of money on just shipping.
Right.
And if you order rods, you want to order enough to make your shipping worth it, but you don't want to buy too many and not know what they're like when you buy them. So things like this are, you'll be able to know exactly what you want when you leave Saturday.
Exactly. You may not have it in your hand, but you'll know when you order it, it's going to come in right.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we've been working really hard to get some new drift rods done, and Vince has been posting pictures up on them today. And I'm not specifically taking them out there to sell, but I'm like everybody else. It's kind of hard to turn down cash. So. Right. But they're basically for displays and stuff that I take to shows. But yeah, we have a few that we're going to have down there. But the main thing for us was the Catfish Weekly show, and we'll have some rods for people to look at. But we want to get everybody that wants to be on the show with us and visit catfishing and stuff like that. That's our main goal for this show.
Well, that's awesome. It ain't always about the money, guys. It ain't always about the money.
If it was about the money, probably most of us probably wouldn't even be doing it.
You're right.
Well,
yeah,
Steve,
if everybody comes down, I think everybody should have a good time.
Oh, I'm quite sure of that. We appreciate you spending your time with us on here tonight, and if there's anything, of course, that we can do, any other assistance you need, be sure and give one of us a holler, and we'll try to help you out and get everything done that we can. And we're looking forward to seeing you down there Saturday sometime, or Friday probably.
That's good enough, man. I appreciate you coming on and participating.
We're going to have a great time. No matter what happens, we're going to have a good time.
Good deal. You guys take care.
All right, thanks.
See you Saturday.
See you.
All right, everybody. That's Steve Douglas. He's worked really hard to put this Catfish Conference on. If you guys haven't got a ticket, or if you think you can get a chance to make it down there to this thing, it's going to be a great event. Some of the biggest people in our sport's going to be there, and it's just going to be a wonderful time. Chuck, we've got Morgan Blake on with us tonight, and Morgan is a flathead man from around San Diego, California. I'm kind of excited to visit with him. We checked his computer stuff out this morning, and I visited with his wife Adrienne and his little girl this morning, and we just had a really good time talking about flowers in that little girl's hair and the dog, and just a great family that is associated around the catfishing thing. And before I called out there, I had just watched a video with Morgan and his daughter narrating this video of him catching, what was it, Morgan, a 42-pound flathead?
42-pounder, yes.
Yeah, it was a great video. These guys, if you get a chance, take a look at some of these fish that Morgan catches out there. A lot of people don't associate the state of California with catfishing per se, but I'm telling you what now, he has put some fish on the ground out there. It's pretty nice. Welcome to the show, Morgan.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're pretty excited about this because you don't always fish out of a boat.
That is correct. I fish on land, fish on a kayak. Pretty much, I'm open to anything. Whatever I try to do, everything I can do that others are not willing to do, I'll do.
You know, a lot of times that'll put you on fish that nobody else can get to.
That is very true.
Well, I'll tell you what, thanks a bunch for being on with us tonight. I'm sure that Chuck has a bunch of questions for you, and I'm going to get caught up on some of the messages we've got going in here. So, Chuck, have at her, buddy.
All right, man. Nice to have you on, Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have you set a limit that you're going to wait to get to before you have one of those beautiful replicas made?
I actually haven't thought about that. Maybe the state record. The state record would be good.
I mean, the Arizona, California areas. I've seen a few come out of Colorado, but the color patterns of those fish out there. There's not many. You get some yellow tints around here, but you don't get that real bright, beautiful yellow that y'all get out there on some of your fish.
That's very true. We've gone back and forth and talked about it amongst, I don't know how many catfishing guys out here. There's no real conclusive. We can't come up with anything specific to why we have bodies of water where they're so yellow. It seems to be the Imperial Valley, the desert area. There's some rivers there, and often they come out that yellow. Very few come out the dark color. I'm not sure if it's because of the waters are very silty. Very silty. I mean, zero visibility. If that has something to do with it, nothing's 100% that we can come up with.
I mean, when you're able to, you're out in your kayak and you're paddling around, those really bright flatheads, I know the water's got to be really clear out in some of those reservoirs and rivers. Can you actually see some of those flatheads down below you being those colors? Or do they really blend in?
They blend in. The Colorado River and its backwaters, those are very clear bodies of water, but I've never pulled out a really yellow one from those clear bodies of water. The extremely yellow ones predominantly are the very silty, murky rivers that I fish.
Oh, so you think it may have something to do with the sediments maybe in there? They're trying to camouflage themselves to their surroundings and stuff?
I believe so. Some of the bodies of water have a lot of farm and irrigation runoff. So maybe there's pesticides that might cause it. A lot of storm drain flow into those bodies of water. Maybe there's something in there that has something to do with it. Not sure. But it's definitely a dirtier body of water versus the Colorado River where it's very clear. But definitely the silt being very, very cloudy, I'd imagine, or muddy, I should say, has something to do with it.
Okay, we talked to a lot of guys from our East Coast, and they have a couple of rivers, the James and the Potomac, which is a brackish type waters. Do y'all have any waters out that way where where it's really brackish and y'all fish in those where they connect to the ocean and you flathead fish, on the same rivers that connect to the ocean?
There's nothing here that I am aware of in the whole state of California that has flatheads where it's a body of water that flows into the ocean. The desert, the two rivers that I fish, both flow into the Salton Sea, which is very salty. But it's very shallow at those points, so I have tried fishing those areas to see if it's almost acts as like a dead end, a turnaround point, a good place where they might bunch up, but I haven't really had much luck in those areas. But there's very, very few waters where there's flatheads here in California. I have to drive 2.5 hours minimum every time I go flathead fishing.
So there's just very few rivers that they've made their way down and made themselves at home, and it just so happened to get that close to your house.
Correct.
Well, what rivers are those?
There's the Alamo River, and there's the New River, which that one's pretty polluted. Most people stay away from that, but there is flatheads in there, and the Colorado River. And then there's hundreds and hundreds of irrigation canals that these flatheads have made their way up into off of these rivers. So there's a lot of fishing in pipes and a lot of driving around. You can spend a year driving out in the desert just because there's so many different canals that all intersect and connect.
And they all keep year-round water?
Yes.
And that right there would be perfect. So, what's some of the biggest flatheads you've gotten out of the canal type place?
40 pounds, 45. I personally have not got one in the 50. My partner that I fish with most of the time has got them in the 50s. I've got a 67-pounder on a backwater off of the Colorado River. That's my biggest, which is 5 pounds shy of the state record. So that's what keeps me going.
Okay, and that was in California waters, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But what other states do you fish in? Just California, or do you venture off into?
I do a tournament once a year in Arizona. The ACCA has a tournament. That's a much larger tournament, a lot more money on the line versus the tournaments that I do here. They're very small, nothing like the one there. So I do go to Arizona. I tow my boat out there and fish Bartlett Lake. They have a couple of them on Bartlett Lake and Lake Pleasant, but they're the big one I drive out to each year, and I do that one. I've driven. Oh, go ahead.
Is that where Flathead Ed and all them guys are? Chris
Exactly.
Joshua and all them guys? Okay.
Yes.
Great. So you get out there and get to fish with those. That's the only tournament you fish with them guys just once a year?
Yes, with those guys, yes.
Okay. I bet, I'd love to go out with them guys. Them guys seem like they know how to really get after them and have a good time.
Oh,
and,
yeah, those are great people. Oh,
I follow all their posts and their weekend adventures of, them going out on their pontoon boats for the weekends or weeks and, just steady going at it. And just seems like some great guys to hang out with.
They are. They're very helpful.
And what size of this tournament do you go to in Arizona?
That one usually, last year I think was the largest. It was about 130, I think, people joined last year's tournament. It's been getting bigger each year. From what I've been told, it's the largest on the West Coast. I don't know where that border is. That's what the gentleman told me that runs that tournament. So that's
wow. So it's growing pretty good out in the West. People learning to target these trophy catfish and growing the sport.
Right. And then in my state, we do 4 a year in the Valley area. So, but those are smaller. We're trying to get it bigger, spread the word out. But they're smaller pots. But it's been getting bigger. And
you're from the San Diego area?
Yes.
Okay. So these rivers you're fishing, all three of them right there around the San Diego?
No, I have to drive. They're in the desert. I've got to go about 2.5 hours to 3 hours east of where I am to get to those bodies of water. In my local area in San Diego, there's just lakes where we do have blue cats, but flatheads are definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I follow a couple of guys that live up, central and northern California, and they get into some pretty good sized channel cats up that way, 25, 30, 35 pounds up in there.
Oh, yes. We have a lake that's been closed for about 7 years now that's getting ready to open, where the state record came from about 20 minutes from here, San Vicente Lake. And that's getting ready to be open. So, and that was known for a lot of big blues. So as soon as that opens up, I'll be getting that out for the blues.
Well, why has it been shut down?
They raised the dam. There has been work being done on that to increase the overall volume of the entire lake. I think they raised the dam 117 feet.
Okay, so they didn't have to drain the whole lake down to cause any damage or anything?
No. They had to bring it down a little bit just to do the work, but not low enough to affect anything.
Oh, great. So that's probably going to be some awesome fishing.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that.
And would you say this was opening up?
This summer. It's supposed to be, I think, within the next couple of months. That I actually work for the water district, and we keep hearing it's been put off and put off. We think it's going to open, and then they're doing more testing, and it gets put off. But the final word is this summer. So, but it's going to be so busy, they're going to have to do a lottery to get on the lake, I guess, for the first year, since everyone knows about it and is going to be going there.
Is this a lottery just for fishing or for all types of water sports, or?
Just to simply get on the body of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's not that many lakes around the area for people to get out and enjoy, so they're gonna have to limit it and monitor the lake pretty good so it won't get overcrowded. Is that what they're trying to do?
Correct. Because it's so known for fishing, and bass. Probably bass fishing is very big there. So there's going to be a lot of bass fishermen trying to get in there when it first opens.
Okay, so they're going to have special regulations and stuff for the lake, you think, other than
that? I think once the crowd calms down, from what I've heard, that it'll just be regular, open 3 days a week, first come, first serve.
Okay. How long you been flathead fishing?
It's been about 7.5 years now. Is when I started fishing. Definitely learned a lot.
Did you do any type of saltwater fishing, anything like that, before you started flathead fishing?
Yes, I grew up going for saltwater. I transitioned right from going tuna fishing right into catfishing. A friend of mine was looking on the internet and found out about flathead fishing, and we had some nearby, and we did a tournament, and that was it. I was hooked.
So you really enjoyed it a lot better than going out in saltwater and fishing.
It's a different kind of adventure here. I use my boat, use the kayak. I spend the entire night on my kayak sometimes. You're searching, Google Earthing, and looking for spots, making your own spots. It's just it's a different kind of adventure rather than just going out in the boat in the ocean and going for tuna. I still like tuna fishing, but the catfishing is definitely a different type of adventure. There's a lot that people are not willing to do. If you're willing to do to get ahead of the game.
So you ever been able to get down close to Cabo or anywhere like that and do marlin fishing, anything like that?
I have not been down to Cabo. I'd like to, but I haven't. Mostly off our local waters.
Is there flatheads any lower than where you're at down toward in the peninsula or anywhere down in there?
Not that I know of. I believe the Colorado River. I'm not quite sure how far south flatheads have been caught, but it's pretty limited.
Okay, so the Arizona, that's probably about as low as they get in that area, a little bit south of you.
Yes, as far as I'm aware of, I haven't heard of anything much into Mexican waters. Because I know the Colorado River does flow into Mexico, but I'm not sure what's been caught down there.
Yeah, I bet some of them places are very secluded and people don't even know they're there.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the places that's nice to adventure to, and find them and let that be your own little getaway. Where you're not getting overcrowded and fighting over fishing holes and all.
Oh yeah, there's very few people that get out there and do. It gets very hot in the summer, 115, 120. Most people pack it up during that time, and they don't really target them during the winter, but I've managed to figure out and catch them all year long. Of course, the wife wasn't very happy about that, because when I first started fishing, I told her it was just a summer thing. Now I've gotten good enough to find them throughout the winter, and now that doesn't make her very happy.
Oh, that's great. All right, Lyle, I know you're ready for him, so you get caught up on the messages. What do you got for him?
Well, Ricky Poole would like to know what kind of bait you use out there, Morgan.
I predominantly use live bait. We use live bluegill, live tilapia, and live carp is what I try to stick to. The smaller carp, baby carp. They are hard to come by, but if they get too big, I will cut them up, but I mostly use live bait for the flatheads.
Now, when you talk about carp, you're talking about just common carp.
Common carp, that is correct.
I was assuming that would be the case. Now, are there big channel cats out in your waters?
There is big channel cats. Some of the bodies of water I will catch some of the rivers where the flatheads are, we don't catch too many big channels. I'm not quite sure why, if they don't make it to being big because of the flatheads, but every once in a while you'll get a double-digit channel cat. But mostly little guys. Now that's the areas where I fish for flatheads. Now our surrounding lakes do have some decent channels in the 20s you can catch, 20-pound range, but it's hard to find the same body of water that has everything, the flatheads, the channels, the blues. That's what we don't really have here.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't really matter to a flathead. If it's hungry, it's going to eat something, and it doesn't really care what it is. I'm convinced of that.
Oh, yeah, I almost lost a tournament because of that. About 20 minutes before I had to weigh in a winning flathead, it barfed up a 2-pound flathead. Almost caused me to lose.
I put those big fish in live wells that we had live bait in. They'll eat every stick of bait you got, and you got to go look for some more if you're not careful. They're just not particular. And I'm not, like I've said this before, I'm not convinced that flatheads will eat fish just because they're hungry. I honestly believe if another fish is around them, they'll just kill them to get them away from them.
Right. I believe a lot of stuff I've read being very territorial.
Yep, you put them in a confined area like a live well. If they get to irritating them too much, they're just going to disappear. There's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely.
If you've got those lakes out there with those big 20-pound channel cat, that's a trophy channel cat in my opinion. Anywhere you go, if you've got channel cat like that, is there any channel cat tournament guys out your way?
We not that I know of. I haven't really done any or seen any channel cat tournaments. The flathead tournaments that I do, we will do a combination of single largest flathead and single largest channel cat, or a stringer of 5 channels, and have 2 pools for those 2 parts of the tournament. So you can win in both if you do well in both.
So you actually have a two events in one.
Correct.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty fun.
Oh yeah, the Arizona tournament, they do flatheads, channel cats. You'll have like a junk fish, pay an extra $5 for the single largest carp.
So bass.
What's that?
So bass.
Bass.
Trash fish.
Oh right. Right.
Just funning with you a little bit. Ricky says if the flatheads make it out to the brackish area, do they still feed back there? If so, how far out of the freshwater would you say they travel?
I haven't really had much luck with them in the brackish water. I think those that do make it to the brackish water, I doubt that they get very far. I don't think they go into salt water. I've never heard of them making it very far in the salt. I think they turn around and come back.
Right. I didn't think that flatheads did. Now, I know I hear some of the blues go into that brackish water pretty deep sometimes, but I don't think the flatheads can stand it like the blues do, and it's just the makeup of their body, I believe.
Right, and the brackish, the salt water that we have here, the Salton Sea, is pretty much dead. There is nothing alive that's left in there right now, so there'd probably be no reason for them to even venture that way. Right.
Especially if it's comfortable to them. Yep, I can see that. So, how long have you been targeting these trophy flathead? I mean, I understand you've been fishing for flatheads for some time, but as far as the 40s and 50-pound, 60-pound fish, how long have you been specifically targeting those great big fish?
pretty much right out of the gate. I like big fish. Honestly, I got lucky. My first tournament that I did, I won. I got a 30 pounder, I believe it was, 30 or 31 pounds, and from then on, I was constantly in search of bettering my holes and researching where I need to go venture away from areas that look like common places that people go.
That's a good idea, I'd say.
I'm always looking for something different.
Right, whether it be structure, water, just further than most people will go, or whatever the case, huh?
Right. I mean, the the two rivers that I fish in the valley, there is no boat ramps. You can only fish it from shore, or if you're willing to take a kayak on the water, that is the only way to get on that body of water. As far as I know, I have not seen anybody else kayaking other than my fishing partner and myself. So I think we're the only crazy ones that have done it so far.
Doc would like to know if the flatheads out there hammer your bait or they just ease down on it when they strike.
I've had both. I've had the immediate just gone, and I've had the very slow moving, just a slow little pull, and I've had someone. I've actually probably had all variations where you'll hear just a little zip, and you don't touch your pole, you think nothing's there, and then you go to move your bait and you reel it in, and there's a big fish on there, and it inhaled it and just sat there and didn't even move.
All right, all right. Scott Manning would like to know what type of gear you use, including terminal tackle, and why you use the things that you do use.
A lot of my gear I have, I already had when I did my tuna fishing. So I have mostly G Loomis rods and Shimano reels. I have Avits, Trinidads. Those are probably my favorite. I've got a TLD 2 that I use for really, really heavy structure. They're lifetime. You get a good deal on them if you break them. G Loomis is pretty good about replacing them. So I didn't buy gear specifically just for catfishing, but I do like the gear. It is strong. I've never had any problems with it, so I'd still probably continue to buy it. I use 40-pound mono for most of the places that I fish. Partly also, I like I don't want to use line that's too big and just horse the fish in. I want a little bit of a challenge with the fish. I've had really good luck with 40-pound mono. I would like a line class record. Should I? That's a big one. Carolina rig, everything is predominantly what I use. If there's no current, I'd like a fly line if possible.
Do what?
Fly line my bait if possible. Keep everything as natural as possible. Everything I fish is in free spool, just with the clicker on.
Okay. All right. Now, is that when you're fishing on the bank or when you're out on a boat, or either way?
That's pretty much everything. Whether I'm on my boat, my kayak, or on shore, I'm fishing in free spool with the clicker.
Okay.
It's
all right.
mostly.
Now, Scott Woody would like to know if Carolina rig, is that the only rig you use when you're on the bank and everything?
Yes, that's what I use. That probably 99% of the time. I've experimented trying to float or a balloon rig, but I end up just going back to Carolina rig. I fish in a lot of current, so I do need to get it down and stay down on the bottom. The current, it doesn't usually work out.
Okay. Fat Cat wants to know if you said 115-degree temperature.
Oh yes, I've fished at 123 degrees.
Yeah, he said not him, and I have to agree with him. I'm going to be under an air conditioner somewhere. That's cool. Figure guys can't handle it.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah, it would be for me. I'd have to crank up the AC and stay home that day, I believe.
I think I ended up in my truck that night beyond to take a break.
I don't doubt it. Do you fish mostly in daytime or night?
Originally, I started out fishing it only at nighttime because that's what we thought was the only way to catch them. I did meet a friend of mine who was familiar with catfishing during the day, and he got some tips from him, and took that information and continued with it. And now I catch them during the day and the night. The daytime, they're not out moving around, so you do need to move around a lot. I'll probably fish 30, 40 different spots in one day, moving around. If they're not there, continue on. You target them while they're in their hole. get the bait in front of their face.
So you actually are searching them down during the day and just trying to put the bait in front of them to make them strike at it.
Correct. I'm fishing holes predominantly, deep spots in the river or structure during the daytime. At nighttime, then I'll find a comfortable spot from shore or the boat, and I'll post up in one spot for the night. And because I feel like they come out and move around at night and don't need to move around as much.
I agree. Ricky would like to know if you have any idea whether flatheads are found up in Oregon or Washington or not.
I think I've seen a report from Washington, but I'm not so sure with Oregon.
Okay.
I think very small. I think, gosh, I think it was in the 20s. It was a long time ago when I saw that, but very small.
Okay. Brad would like to know if you use circle hooks, J hooks, or KO hooks.
I use octopus, 8/0 octopus circle hooks for pretty much everything now. I have tried J hooks. I've tried KO hooks. I seem to have the best luck. They all work, but I've had the least gut hooks with circle hooks. I have very good ratio of getting them in the corner of the mouth.
Yeah, that's
in the upper lip.
That's one of the things that people that are catching flatheads that they have to really be careful with, because they'll engulf a bait so quick and swallow it. And the next thing that you know, that if they're not using a good circle hook, it'll be down inside of them. And the best thing to do at that point, from my perspective, is just to cut the line off and let them have the hook, and it'll eventually dissolve out and be gone, and you won't do damage to that hook from trying to get it out.
Right. And it helps not to use chrome hooks. Those definitely break down quicker.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Fat Cat would like to know that what do you do to keep your bait alive if you're using live bait when it's that hot of weather?
I have a cooler that I turned into a live well, because the cooler, as it obviously keeps things, it keeps ice from melting, but it also helps keep the water in a cooler cool during the day. I try to keep it shaded if possible, but I've never really had the water get too warm in the summer weather. I use a big size cooler, probably at least a 70-quart cooler, and have aerators in there and little breathing tubes out of the top, and that's predominantly what I keep 30 pieces of bait alive in a good size cooler during the day.
The bluegills are pretty hardy. They'll do pretty well. Now, do you ever put ice or anything in there to help them out?
I have not had to do that yet. The reason why I'm not too worried about it is because the water that I catch them from in the summertime is equally as hot. Right. So I think that they're already acclimated to warm water in the summer.
Okay. Scott Manning says if you're going to be fishing with him in September, you're going to freeze to death out in Tennessee.
I'm working on it. That's my goal to get out there.
Well, in September, it'll probably be, no higher than 80 or 85 out there in September, 90 maybe.
That's perfect weather.
Now, Ricky would also like to know what's the warmest water temperature you've caught flathead from?
I think probably 83 degrees, 84 degrees I've metered in the middle of the summer. That's surface temp, of course. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Now, how deep of water was you fishing? Do you know?
Probably average 7-8 feet deep, and then with 15 to 20 foot holes throughout the river. So
that's not going to be a terrible amount of difference top to bottom in 8 foot. Now at 20 foot you might lose several degrees, but 8 foot you're not going to lose that much.
Correct. Yes.
Do you ever use anything to sink a thermometer down to see what the water temperature is down deep?
I haven't. I actually haven't done that. I've been thinking about trying that on a kayak, but I have not done that yet.
Now, do you have a regular boat you fish out of, or you just fish out of that kayak?
I have a bass boat. Well,
a bass boat.
Technically a bass boat, but it's actually a catfishing boat.
It's a cat bass.
Right. Yeah, it's a Ranger bass boat that I fish on. It's an older style bass boat that still has the couches, the padded seats on the front rather than all deck, because I spend the entire night on my boat.
Right, right. Well, you know, Steve Douglas, who was just on here, he fished out of a Ranger bass boat for years and years and years, and very successful from that boat. So it's not that you can't use one, and if you're going to be out there all night, you might as well have that comfort.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I towed that thing all the way to Oklahoma and fished a different body of water for a whole week on that boat and drove back.
Oklahoma's got some pretty good water out there. It doesn't get noticed or the notoriety for being one of the great catfishing states, but Grand Lake, the Cherokees, and there's some others, but that one is comes to my mind quickest. There's some great catfishing in Oklahoma itself.
Oh yeah, that was one night. It was very nice to be able to drive an hour in either direction and find a huge body of water versus here. It's a lot tougher.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. You know, and when we talk to guests like you that live out there, and you're telling us you drive such good distances to go flathead fishing, and you know, we got water everywhere out here. There's either creeks or rivers or lakes or something man-made, and within an hour you can be at several different places. Right. Dedication that you guys have to drive those distances is what separates the men from the boys, because well, you know, people that catfish, they want to catch catfish. They don't want to go to the lake and be catching bass or crappie or something. They go out there to catch 30, 40, 50-pound fish. They don't go out there to catch, you know, stuff that we normally use for size of bait, which brings me to the next question. How big a bait are you using on those flatheads?
Anywhere from 4 inches to 1.5 pounds.
1.5 pounds. So you're talking about a piece of bait bigger than your hand.
Yes. That's when I'm getting into the carp. The bluegill and the tilapia are usually the 4 to 6 inch range, and then once you get into the carp, that's where you get a little bigger.
Now, do you always cut those carp, or do you ever use them whole?
My goal is to catch them small enough to use them whole. They're very hardy. They'll last all night long. Put them back in your cooler if they don't get hit, which I hope doesn't happen, and you can use them again.
Yeah, they are. They're tough. They're very tough fish if you can get them like that. One of the things that we have problems with around here is, like you was talking, is finding them hand size. Usually, when we start getting carp, common carp, you know, they're 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds or bigger, and it's not. I know guys who use them that size for live bait for flatheads. I don't, but there is guys that do that and have a pretty good success rate with them, actually. But there comes a point to me when the realism has to grab hold of you a little bit.
Right. I think they make really good bait when they're smaller because they don't have the spine that the bluegill and tilapia have, where the flathead needs to negotiate that bait to take it in head first, whereas those little common carp don't really have that, so they're just like a lollipop, and they just suck them right in. They don't need to spend that time turning the bait as much, in my opinion.
Well, and from everything that I've understood about flathead and the videos and stuff that I've watched, when a flathead decides it's going to eat, it just inhales its whatever it's eating.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't just grab hold of it and play around with it. They suck that baby in, and next thing you know, it's completely gone.
Right.
So that's one of the greatest things that I have for years called flatheads the king of cats, and so many people say, well, you don't fish for them that much. Well, we tournament fish so much of the time, and it's not that you can't win a tournament in our area catching flatheads. The blues are faster, easier, more available, and you don't have to work near as hard to look for them.
Right.
In our, where we're at.
Right.
But I dearly love to catch them, and if I'm fishing at night, I'm going to have some bait out for a flathead. That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Justin Wolf says, "Big bait, big fish." I would tend to agree with that, but you can catch big fish on small bait too.
That is true.
But my theory about that is, if you're using small bait, you're probably going to catch a lot of small fish. Not that you won't catch a big one.
Right.
But if you're using big bait, the little ones can't take it, and the big ones can.
Correct. I agree. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been shocked, like you said, the big ones will bite the small. My buddy, I passed off a piece of bait because it was so little, and he decided to put it on his hook and ended up with a 52-pound flathead on a little 1.5-inch piece of cut bait. So
That's a great fish. I don't care. A 50-pound fish is a great fish anywhere you go. Scott would like to know, how do you catch your bait? Do you net it? Do you catch it on rod and reel, or how do you do that?
the only legal way in California is you can dip net for them or rod and reel, just with night crawlers or corn. That's, as far as I know, the only legal way to do it.
Okay.
There are people that use throw nets, but you don't want to get caught doing that.
So throw nets in the state of California is illegal to get bait with.
Correct. I'm only allowed to fish with 2 rods, and I have to pay for the second rod. That's the only way I'm allowed to fish.
So they charge you for a license fee, and that allows you to use 1 fishing rod.
Correct.
If you want to use another fishing rod while you're catfishing, you have to pay an extra amount of money to be able to use 2 rods.
Correct. Yes, it's another $4 or $5. Yes, to have a second rod endorsement.
Yeah. Well, so if you give them another 10, they wouldn't let you fish with 3.
I don't know why they don't do that. They could probably
Well, and I realize every state has different outlooks on the way things need to be done, and rules and regulations, and if that's the way they do it, if you're going to be out there, that's what you have to do, and I don't really see anything wrong with that. That's one of the aspects of conservation, and I know, or I believe that I know, that you are all about conservation for these big flatheads.
That is correct. Yes. I think I should be able to use as many rods as I want, since I don't keep anything.
Well, I've told this before, and I know it's been at least 12 years now since I've cleaned a fish, and it's not that I don't like to eat them. I don't want to clean them, and I would never clean a big one. If it was gut hooked or bleeding really bad, I would consider doing that. I'd hate to turn it loose and it not survive, but as long as they're healthy and everything. And if I decide tomorrow I go out fishing, if I decide I want to keep a mess of fish, I'll catch me some 4 or 5 pounders, and that's what we'll eat. But to be right honest, I'd rather just stop on the way home, buy Cindy catfish for dinner.
Right. There's something fascinating about them. Right out of the gate, they're prehistoric and neat, and I just think they're really, really cool, and I let them go.
I watch a lot of shows when I'm working. I have a TV on most of the time here in my shop, and I watch these guys, and they're catching fish and talking about turning them back and eating this, and one of the greatest terms that I can think of relating to any kind of fish, but specifically catfish, is selective harvest.
Mm-hmm.
In fishermen has been using that term for years and years and years, and I don't care whether you're trot lining for fish or whether you're jug fishing. I don't do that, don't condone it, but I know a lot of people do and they enjoy it. And it's fun to do. I've done it. I'm not saying that I haven't, but it doesn't matter how you catch the fish. If one of them is not going to survive, that's the fish you need to take home and eat. If you catch a bunch of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pounders, those are by far the best eaten fish of any species. I don't care what anybody says. They can talk all that crap about, oh, I can fix it and you can't tell this. Well, yes, you can. You can tell the difference between an old fish, and it's just like a young hog or a young beef or anything else. You can tell the difference. So use selective harvest. Keep the fish you want for yourself and for your family, and turn the breeding fish back so they can reproduce, so you can have that in your grandkids or your children, or somebody can catch it on down the road. That little girl of yours, I'm quite convinced that she is going to be a great fishing partner in the not too distant future.
Oh, yeah.
I was so taken with her when we was making sure your computer and everything works. She's just the sweetest little thing, and she had her little flower hair thing in her hair, and just cute as she could be, and she had that dog, and she was talking about that dog. I could have visited her for an hour.
Oh yeah, she was my good luck charm that trip. That was her first trip out, and that was the first time I'd ever caught 2 40-pounders in one spot, with just within a few hours. So she was definitely my good luck charm.
I'm not really sure. I watched that video this morning before I talked with them, and she was kind of instructing you on getting that fish in, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, she'll probably be pretty strict.
Do you think the earthquakes affect those flatheads out there?
I don't think so. I think it's the bodies of water are flowing pretty good, so I doubt it.
Yeah, I would say not. If they can withstand sonic booms from airplanes and all the road traffic and noises and man-created chaos that we've got, if they can survive that,
I think
they can survive that.
Right. I think the biggest impact on the flatheads is the fluctuation in water levels. The bodies of water, we get a lot of rain or there's a lot of agricultural going on at the same time. The water will raise sometimes 5 feet. And one weekend you go back 2 weeks later and it has dropped back down 5 feet. That sometimes seems to hurt the bite when there's that dramatic fluctuation.
So do you have, I'm trying to think of the term that they use out east on tide. Do you have tidal current out there in those rivers?
No, there's no tide. It's all based on how much water is being used in those valleys, because it's all agricultural. The whole desert is all agriculture. Tons of canals. How much water is being dumped in.
Now, is a lot of that come from the Rocky Mountains?
Probably originally yes, because it makes its way through the Colorado River.
Okay.
And then, yes.
Justin Wolf would like to know if you think the reasoning behind the strict regulations on the amount of rods you use is due to the population of people or the population of the fish.
I probably think neither. Probably lawyers and money.
Well, that makes more sense.
Right. It is California.
Well, and it's not. There's a lot of things they do out in your state that I do not agree with, but I don't think when it comes to money it has anything to do whether it's California, Missouri, or Texas, or New York. If they think they can squeeze another nickel out of the taxpayer, they're going to get it.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's overpopulation. I doubt it has anything to do with either one of those.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of sign. Maybe they're trying to be better safe than sorry. Maybe it's the limited body of water.
That's very possible. Scott would like to know what kind of knot that you use, why you use it, and the size of leader, and do you think the leader is important to flathead fishing?
I use probably about 12-inch leader. If I'm using 40-pound test, I often will use a 60-pound leader. 12 to 18 inches is all I really use for length of leader because there's a lot of structure, so I'm usually casting very close to the structure. So if there's too long of a leader, the fish will quickly just swim into a tree branch or something and boom, you're done. So it'll get snagged. I like Palomar knots. The San Diego knot is what they call it. I think it's the jam. That's what I use. Pretty much for everything.
Yeah, that Palomar knot's really hard to beat. I use some other stuff, but it's almost foolproof. I mean, it's easy to tie. It's extremely strong, and it's really hard to beat that.
Right. Yeah.
Those flatheads are a treasure that people do not realize, and a lot of people fish for channel cats and blues, and they don't know what they're missing out on until they get a hold of one of those 30, 40, 50-pound flatheads. And people will tell me that if they're a catfish. Well, it's until you get a big one, you don't really understand the difference in the way they fight and how they treat you and your equipment. They're just mean now.
Absolutely. Oh yes. Especially when you're in current. I mean, those big heads, those big flat heads, they dive, keep that head down in current, and they can be tough to get up when they're stubborn.
Have you ever seen them really stir up the mud when you're fighting one in fairly shallow water?
Yeah. The video that you saw, that was pretty shallow towards the shoreline. That was putting up a pretty good ruckus.
Well, now, my question with that is, do you think they're using their head to try to get into that mud, or are they just stirring it up with their entire body?
I think they're just stirring it up with their entire body. There's usually trees. You know right away if they're trying to get into structure. That mud is really soft and just murky bottom. Yeah, I think it's just them trying to get away and into structure.
Doc Lang says they're bulldozers on steroids.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And he was talking about structure. You know, I assume that you're trying to find these fish in tree root balls and rocks and different areas like that when you're looking for them. And if there's a piece of structure in there, I guarantee you they know where it's at, and that's where they're headed.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes you'll get a run and you'll hear that little zzz, and they're already in structure. It'll happen that quick, and you're snagged and done. I'll pre-tie. I usually pre-tie about 10 to 15 setups with my leader, hook and swivel before I even get out there because I know I'm going to go through lots of gear.
Well, now Doc was on with us last week, and we was talking about that, and he had quite the little trick, and you may have not have seen the show, but he says when they go into that structure, whether it be a tree or whatever it is, they go in head first. So if you just tighten the drag a little bit and put pressure and just set it in the rod holder, they'll eventually back out and you can keep going.
I have done that. I haven't seen the show, but I have learned to be patient, and I've sat there for about 20 minutes working with the fish. I've heard sometimes I'll strum the line like a guitar, and the vibration traveled through the line, and I think that they feel it, and sometimes that will upset them and cause them to shake their head and sometimes come out. So yeah.
There's tricks for everything, and the more things you learn, the more success rates you're going to have, and that's really good. You know, people tell Chuck and I all the time that we specifically visit with guys that are known for their tournament catfishing ability, and although you do fish tournaments, you fish on the bank, you fish in the water, you drive distances to go, you just want to catch fish, you take your family with you, and I really thank you for being on the show with us tonight. I really believe that a lot of the guys that are not tournament anglers have benefited from the knowledge that you and stuff that you shared with us on the show this evening.
You're very welcome.
It's just been outstanding. You know, every week, anybody that's on the show, we give them a chance to talk about anything when we get near the end of the show as far as sponsors or people that they want to thank for helping them along the way or anything like that. And if you have anybody you'd like to mention, I'll give you all the time that you'd like to do it, Morgan.
I'd like to thank all those that are out there that are open and talk about catfishing and are willing to share information. It's great to have people that share and help people. I know there's always a little bit of secrecy with fishing, catfishing. I'm secretive and had to steer people in other directions sometimes, but it's great to have people out there that are willing to talk about it and share and help those that are learning and trying to get their foot in the door and catch the big fish. Shows that like you have. Probably my wife. That's probably the biggest one I'd like to thank for putting up with me in my hobby that I think about day in and day out. And it's tough if you don't have someone that supports you in your passion. So that's a good thing to have.
Well, that's exactly right, and I'm very lucky that and Chuck is too. Leanne fishes with him whenever she feels like it, and Cindy and I fish together nearly every time out. Not every time, but most of the time she's my tournament partner and everything, and it works out really, really great for us. But I really did enjoy visiting with her. She was so helpful trying to get everything set up this morning, and like I say, that little girl of yours is as sweet as she could be, and I'm looking forward to the time when you're posting those pictures of her holding those fish you're catching now.
Oh yeah, I have to stop catching ones that are bigger than her. That way she can hold them up.
It won't be too long that she'll be able to handle him. She's not going to sit back there and instruct you, but so long she's going to want to do it herself.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Well, Morgan, thank you so much for being our guest on Catfish Weekly. And, at some time in the future when you get to going and get some more videos, post them up and feel free to put them on the Catfish Weekly website. People love to look at those pictures, and flatheads are such beautiful fish. And you and that girl keep catching them things, and we'll enjoy watching them videos for years to come.
I will. Thank you very much. It was an honor to be on your show.
Well, thanks for being here with us.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Blake, take it easy, man.
All right. You too. Thanks.
Well, Chuck, that was a really good segment with Morgan. He done a really good job and shared a lot of information with these guys that are bank fishing and stuff that, I never thought about using tilapia for bait, and one of the reasons I didn't think about it is because we don't have any. That is some really good information for people that don't have boats or ways to get out on the water and do that.
Right, and the guys to get out in them kayaks and stay, fish all night, or even just go out for hours. I mean, that is very, very sporting.
Well,
if you're one-on-one with a big flathead in a kayak, just you and him, I mean that's you can't get no more personal than that.
Well, that's true, and I do see the thrill and adventure that people would get out of that. But personally, canoes, kayaks, bicycles, my ass just don't fit them anymore.
Oh, I don't either. I'm way too old. I mean, I could probably get in one, but I wouldn't be able to get back out.
Well, I'm too old for that stuff. But I really do enjoy watching the videos of them guys that do it, and Morgan has caught some giant fish. I never knew until watching some of his pictures and videos and stuff that he's put up in the last several months that California even had catfish that size out there.
I know, and the color patterns like we were talking about, they're just we'll see some nice yellow patterns here, but I mean they have them real bright yellow ones. Down there where the Chris Joshua and Flathead Ed and them are, they have some really nice patterns, and
they have some
lakes got some nice fish. It would be so hard for me to pick out and not. I mean, I think he said his personal best 67. I mean, I would have probably wouldn't been able to wait. I would have went ahead and got my mount done up right then.
There's this little girl just got on there. She's as cute as she can be. She don't have her flowers in her hair this evening though.
Hi.
Hi. How are you guys?
Hi.
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 What?
Chuck, I'm going to start doing something at the end of our shows that I haven't been doing, and I may catch a little flack.
Guess what?
But all the states that are behind the catfish conservation are working extremely hard. Now, I'm talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio. These guys are all working extremely hard to get catfish regulations put into effect to benefit and save our catfishing. Now, Missouri has for years told me the same old sob story, and I love them guys. I respect them. They're not getting on with the program. They keep talking about doing surveys and testing and finding out if we need these regulations. Well, we do need them. We need them as bad as everybody else does, and I want them to quit dragging their feet. We've asked them for confirmation on what they're finding in their studies, and they won't give us any. So immediately, to me, that tells me that they're not really doing the studies. Missouri Department of Conservation, you are known as one of the greatest conservation efforts in the United States. Get these regulations passed on these rivers. There's no reason for you guys to be dragging your feet and putting this off, and I'm going to push this every week until you guys decide that it's time to get off your butts and get something done. Now, with that said, Chuck, do you have any closing statements?
Yes. Jeff Green from Rock Hill, South Carolina, brought it to my attention today that there was a situation after the Cabela's King Cat Sante Cooper super event this week. Saturday, someone turned themselves in for being honest. Um, and what I want to do right now, I want to read a post. Some people may have already read it. It's Dean Burks, but I know a lot of people don't have Facebook, and I would like to read this post about a fisherman who took first place because of a weight discretion, figured out that he did not win and turned around and called Cabela's, told them that they need to look the weights over again, gave the first place plaque back to the winner and the prize money. Okay, here is Dean Birch's post, which he stopped and had dinner with Jimmy Hallbrook as this was occurring. Honestly, at its best, had the opportunity to fish the Cabela Super event on Sante with Chris Mann. It was a tough bite for us, but one of our friends did really well. As a matter of fact, on day one, he was in second place. I could tell Jimmy Hallbrook and Layla, Georgia, Ledbetter were really excited as we joined them on Canal Lakes Resort at our usual eat after the tournament place. Same place Chris and I met just a year ago before. Chris and I still fishing on day two and not going to weigh in, heard the good news of our friend winning. Later, we joined them to eat again, and I noticed Jimmy seemed troubled. After asking what was wrong after winning the tournament, he said, I don't think I won. He got to figuring that the numbers that he weighed in and knew the number was off. After we talked, he decided to call Cabela's officials and tell them his concern. Seemed he was right, and second place Mark Stanley were winners by a few pounds. Calls were made. Jimmy got to hand over the first place plaque to the winner. Checks were tore up and rewritten. How many people would have done this? Day two weights were not posted, so Mark had no idea what Jimmy caught if he was not there when Jimmy weighed in. Jimmy knew they had him marked with too much weight, and he could not live with that. He gave the trophy to the rightful owner. Now, I don't know about you, but I think Jimmy Hallbrook is the winner. Maybe not just second place in a tough event and losing first just by a few pounds, but pointing out a mistake that only he knew about. That's how true winners are. They want to win, but they want to do it fair and square. After the tournament, he and his partner, Georgia Ledbetter, drove 3.5 hours home and will get up this morning and go to church, where Miss Ledbetter has to get up early to teach Sunday school Sunday morning.
And this gentleman's name is Jimmy Hallbrook.
Yes.
Jimmy Hallbrook, thank you for being that kind of fisherman. You are the kind of guy that inspires the whole world to do what's right.
Yeah, I mean, that was, nobody probably would have ever known. He brought in and he just didn't notice what the scales were saying and everything. And he had that gut feeling something was wrong. And, when Dean seen it, and when Dean questioned him about it, he let him know, hey, something's not right, because that guy had more weight than I did. He seen that guy weigh in, but that guy did not see Jimmy weigh in. So he was not able to catch the mistake.
Well, he is a true ambassador of our sport, and I commend him very highly for doing that. I would like to think that I am the person that would have done the same thing, but each and every one of us know that in our heart, the only way we know if we could do that is if it actually happened to us. And the outstanding people that do that to make sure that the right people got what they truly deserved, and they will be remembered for that from now on. And there needs to be more of these kind of stories brought out instead of all the bad stuff that we hear. And I'm very thrilled that you brought that up.
Yes, I mean, Jimmy is one heck of a fisherman. He was second place at the Eastern Championship on Lake Wateree, this past fall at the Cabela. So it just wasn't one of those tournaments where he lucked up and come in first place. He was a force to be reckoned with from the time they launched.
Absolutely.
And him and his girlfriend go out, fish together all the time. And that's a couple that we're going to try very hard to get on the show and spend some time with us.
Absolutely. I would love to have them on the show and visit with them about what they've done. I'm quite sure that they have some catfishing knowledge and stories to share with us, but they're on the top of the list in respect for my book for doing the correct thing, and I thank them very deeply for doing such. What else have you got this evening, Chuck?
Well, it's going to be a busy month. This coming Friday, the long trip to Kentucky, spend the day with y'all on Saturday. The weekend after that, my brother's birthday getaway. We're going to go to Wheeler for a few days, enjoy his birthday. And then I've got 2 more weekends in a row on Wheeler with a couple of tournaments. And then my home lake, which I really never fish, Lay Lake. We're going to have a Hill Jack tournament on the 26th of March, and then the Lay Lake Super event on the 1st and 2nd of April. It's going to be a month earlier than last year when the flatheads were running really good and the blues decided to spawn at the last minute. So everybody who pre-fished the week before, their whole tactic was off because, all of a sudden the blues were doing good. Then all of a sudden they hardly even existed. So that this year it's going to be really good being a month ahead. The flatheads and the blues both should be on fire, and it's really going to show what kind of other waters we have in Alabama besides the Tennessee River.
Right. Yeah. That is going to be a busy week or month for you. Absolutely. And you guys will do fine. I'm convinced of it. Jerry Dillard had put in on our chat that was a great story, and thanks for sharing that, Chuck. And Justin Wolf says, how did Cabela's not catch that? Well, Justin, I know it seems like that would be hard, but you as well as many of the rest of us that have done tournaments realize that mistakes have been made. And we actually one time done that and weigh in and got all done with it and passed out the things. Found a mistake and had to correct it, but we actually got it done before everybody took off. And actually nobody did get upset about that. Surprisingly enough that they didn't, because sometimes things happen and people do get mad about things, but when you show them and they realize that an honest mistake has been made, most of the time people will go on. But that's a story, Chuck, that I may never forget. That was such an outstanding thing that those guys done, and I'm so thrilled with that, and thanks for sharing it. I have a message here from Jerry Dillard. He had sent me this earlier, and for you that don't know, Jerry is doing the Central Texas Catfish Tournament Trail down in Texas, and I understand that this is a new deal they got going, trying to get their catfish tournaments going, and we're really proud of them guys for doing what they do to get catfish and make it more user friendly in their area. And he wanted to let me know that Randy Miller and Johnny Ward won the tournament they had last weekend down there, and they're having great time. So you guys that live in Central Texas, jump on down there and fish with these guys. They're working really hard to get you into these tournaments, and you can't ask for anything more. They're doing everything they can to make it a big event for people that want to catch these fish. So get in there and share some of that with them guys. It'll be a lot of fun. You'll enjoy yourself. You'll never forget it. Well, Chuck, I think that's about it for this evening. I hope everybody gets around to make to the Catfish Conference down in Versailles, Kentucky, at Jeff Jones Marine. I think it's going to be a really, really good time, and everybody that's traveling, have a safe trip. I don't think the weather's going to be too bad unless something changes between now and then, but we all know how that can go. And I just think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've got some other things going on. We've got some tournaments coming up next month, and next week I'll visit with you guys about them. But the last thing that I'm going to try to do this evening is next week, the 29th, we're going to have Craig Shoemate on the show with us. Craig got called into work on a date that he was supposed to be on with us here a few weeks ago, so we're going to try to get Craig on here, and we're going to visit with him. The 7th of March, we're going to have our spouses show with Joyce Muse and Amanda Morse and Jamie Mathena, talking about how they support their tournament catfish anglers, and I really think this is going to be a good show for everybody to watch. The following week, the 14th, we're going to have Jason Aycock on here, and we're going to talk about getting back to our roots in catfishing, how and why we all started, and how we progressed since the beginning. And I think that Jason will be really cool to be on here with us, and I think we'll have a really good show with him. And the 21st of March, we're going to have Justin Wolf on. Justin's agreed to come on and be on the show with us. And Justin run a tournament trail out of St. Louis, so below the Alton Dam there for years and years and years. And he's seen all the good and all the bad and stuff that goes wrong and stuff that goes right. And he's quite a fisherman. And if we can get some of that knowledge squeaked out of him, it will benefit all of us guys that catch blue catfish, because Justin knows how to put them big boys in the boat. He's beat me out of big fish a number of times and beat me in tournaments more than I care to admit. And he's very knowledgeable. He fishes the Mississippi and the Missouri River, but he also travels to Owensboro, Kentucky, and Wheeler Lake and Alabama. He goes wherever the fish are at, and we're going to have a really good show with Justin on the show. So everybody lighten up, stay tuned. See you at the Catfish Conference in Versailles, Kentucky. For Chuck Davison, I'm Lyle Stokes. Thanks for watching Catfish Weekly.